Welcome to New Townie, a podcast about moving to a new city. I'm Rachel Elliott, and last fall, I moved to St. John's from Gander to be a journalism student at the College of the North Atlantic. In each episode of this show, I'll be speaking with a resident of the metro area to help me navigate my new life in and around the city. We hope you enjoy coming along for the ride and taking in some nostalgia, or maybe even learning something new. Our guest today is John Kennedy. John has lived his whole life just outside the city in what's now called Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove. He's agreed to come here and chat with me about his experience with his life on the Avalon. John, thank you so much for talking with me today. How are you doing?
Good.
So, have you always lived near the city?
I grew up in Outer Cove, which is just a few minutes outside St. John's.
Have you ever thought about moving away?
When I finished trade school, I had a couple of job opportunities outside of Newfoundland. Thankfully, before I actually had to go, a job came up here and I was able to stay fairly close to home. And this is home. The attraction baffles some people sometimes, but you just tell people that it is what you feel like where you're from. It's a special place that you have to be born here to want to stay here.
What was your job?
I was a forestry technician originally, and then I worked with the lands office after that.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about Logie Bay.
Logie Bay, Middle Cove and Outer Cove were three separate communities basically bordering on St. John's. They were originally fishing and farming communities, and because of the proximity to the city, a lot of the farmers were able to travel into St. John's daily with either milk or produce. And the fishing grounds off the coast of the three communities were they were lucrative for the time. And they didn't have to rely on shipping once the roads were built in the mid-1800s. They could take everything and just directly on a cart and go in. They'd be in and back the same day, which gave them pretty good heads up on a lot of people that had to travel a long ways in order to do the same thing.
So what's its relationship to St. John's?
Now it's basically a commuter town. There isn't, like in our community, there's not a whole lot of businesses. Most people live, work, go to school in St. John's.
How big is Logie Bay? I've never been there before.
Logie Bay, Middle Cove and Outer Cove is approximately, I'm going to say close on 3,000 people now.
Oh, that's not bad. I thought it was going to be a little bit smaller.
Well, in my lifetime,
Yeah.
the population has tripled.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, again, the proximity to St. John's, you get a lot of people that like to have sort of a rural lifestyle, but again, be close to the amenities in the city.
Yeah.
So you'll see, like I said, a lot of people that come in from different parts of the island find there's a different feel in our area versus in a subdivision in St. John's, and it's all in what you're looking for. But I mean, like, we've still got beaches and coastlines and trails that make people from outside the area feel more at home. It's more like what they're used to.
So a lot of people consider Logie Bay to be a part of St. John's. I thought that myself. I'm not from here, so I didn't know. How do you feel about that?
So that's a common misconception. So the best way to describe it to you is the Baymen call us Townies, the Townies call us Baymen. And basically the people the students from St. John's thought Outer Cove. How long does it take to get all the way down there? It took me, if it wasn't for the traffic, I could have been here this morning in 10 minutes.
How long does it normally take for you to commute?
Well, a day like today, 15 or 20 minutes. Like, it took me 15 minutes to get to the college today.
Wow. And I guess it takes you less longer, like on a normal day without
Well,
traffic? Or?
without traffic, it's not a big distance. It's basically like 5 kilometers.
Oh, wow.
So there's not, but again, it depends on your perception of it. If you talk to someone that lived in the west end of St. John's, they'll say, oh my God, that's a long ways to go.
So what would you say the biggest difference is between Logie Bay and St. John's itself?
The biggest difference, it's our community is still small enough to have a sense of community. Like in my lifetime, when I went to school, all you do is look at someone's face, you knew who they were because certain families had certain looks. And
Slim is like where I'm from too.
exactly, it's a small town feel, right? Versus St. John's, which is a small city. That's the best way I'll describe it. You're still, all Newfoundlanders still have a form of connection. So you'll know someone who knows someone, or you're related to someone. In our community, it's not so much now, but while I was growing up, you knew everybody, right?
Yeah.
Doors were never locked because there was no need of it. Who's coming? There's only someone coming to see you.
I've heard that a lot. Yeah.
Right? Unfortunately, like I said, things change. It's still a small community, but there are people now that I wouldn't know, and that's change. That's I don't know if I call it progress, but there's change. Yeah. But the vast majority of the people that you get coming in, when they get used to being in the community, they'll say that they want to join into stuff, they want to be part of stuff because it's just a different feeling.
So do you like St. John's? How do you feel about that?
St. John's is good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's your favorite part?
Well, for me, it's just the convenience of everything. That's the beauty of it. St. John's has everything that you need, right? If you're looking education-wise, store-wise, hospitals, it's all here, right? The only thing about St. John's is, we'll complain about the traffic. Now, someone from Toronto will laugh when you talk about St. John's traffic, right? But it's just the difference in where I grew up and the roads in our town versus the streets in St. John's is all part of being there. But the thing about it is that in the space of half an hour, I can leave, go home, and be in an entirely different setting.
Yeah. So what would you say the biggest changes that you've seen since you were a kid in the city?
Oh my God. When I was younger, when I just started school, we'd go, both my parents worked in St. John's. The two of them worked on Water Street because at the time, all the businesses were located downtown. There were no malls, there were no industrial parks. Every Saturday, the buses from the surrounding communities, which would be a school bus, would take people from the surrounding communities downtown to do their shopping and then get the bus and come home again. Because a lot of people at that time didn't have cars, or if you had one, whoever was working was going to work and there was no other way to get there.
Yeah.
A lot of all the stores, there were no supermarkets. Yeah. There were dry grocers, there were butchers, there were bakers, but a lot of people did their own baking, but all the department stores, whatever you were looking for, was on Water Street or Duckworth Street. There was nowhere else to go. Where the Avalon Mall is, that was all farms.
I didn't know that.
Just as, that's just one example.
I'm guessing downtown life is a bit different as well.
Oh my God. Water Street, when you go down there, there were fishermen still selling, inshore fishermen, selling fish out of wheelbarrows in the alleyways. It's something that you'd never see now. The traffic was bumper to bumper because there was just, everyone had to go there. And it was constant, it was all day long. But the thing with it is that even though you lived outside the city where you were dealing with smaller firms or smaller stores, you were on a first name basis with a lot of the people that either worked there or owned the premises. My favorite was when I go with my grandmother, we'd go, the East End stores was where she did her grocery shopping, which is basically around where, close to where Bannerman Brewing is now. We'd go to Cookie Jar, which was a little restaurant that you get a hot dog and a drink, and that was a big deal then. But she knew the names of the two ladies who owned the place, and it's not like going to McDonald's now where you'll have someone that's just say hi and fine. The personal interaction isn't the same.
Yeah, that's definitely a big change. So you were mayor in Logan Bay. How long? 12 years, you told me?
I was 12 years on council. I was 8 years as mayor.
So how did you wind up running for mayor?
Well, that's a long and involved story. My father was on the first council when it was formed in 1986, sorry. And basically, like I said, it's a small place. When you see stuff that you'd like to see done, the beauty of being in a small town is that it's easier for me to communicate to people in the community what I would like to see done, versus if you try to run for council in St. John's, that's a big undertaking and a big expense. I paid, I think it was $90 for a mail out that went into the mailboxes.
Wow.
Now this is before, social media wasn't as prevalent as what it is now. And basically most people knew me.
Yeah.
So they knew who I was, what it was all about. Like I said, if you were on in St. John's, you got to get your message. Your name got to be recognised first. That's the big thing, is name recognition, and then you got to get your message out, and you got to be able to contact people, right? It's a whole different ballgame. You're dealing with, we'd have, when I was mayor, we had like 2,000 people, roughly, when first year I was on council. That's not a tenth of a ward in St. John's, right? So we'd have an entire council for 2,000 people, versus you'd have a ward councillor for 20,000 people in town.
Wow. So, did your time as mayor of Logie Bay influence your feelings about the Avalon at all?
The biggest thing that I found about being mayor was that we're a small town close to a large urban centre. So the best analogy that I describe it as is Pierre Trudeau talking about the US and Canada. The US being the elephant, the mouse being Canada. So we were the mouse, St. John's was the elephant. So the mouse always has to know where the elephant is. The elephant doesn't really care where the mouse is.
Do you think living in Logie Bay gives you a different perspective on the city at all?
Yes, just for the simple fact that it's a different way of living. It's more relaxed. It's easy to get around.
Yeah.
There's more outdoor activities. Like some people take for granted that, I can walk to the beach in 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Most people, oh God, a beach. We got two.
Oh, do you?
Well, there's a beach in Middle Cove. There's a beach in Outer Cove.
Oh, okay.
The Marine Lab took over what was, I'm going to say Logie Bay had a beach, but that's a fairly rocky area, but there were fishing premises in Logie Bay.
Okay.
But you can still, the East Coast Trail travels the outside route of the whole thing, and people come down just to walk it. Like we went to Ireland a few years ago, and they brought us to the cliffs some more. So there was a lot of people there that were from the mainland.
Yeah.
They were like really impressed with it. And I looked at the guide, I said, this is just like home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's very fair. Do you feel like your life is easier or harder when you were younger, and why?
It was different.
Yeah.
It was, I'm not going to say better, life was simpler, right? But there were things, when we were growing up, for the most part, especially in younger years, everyone had their own gardens because it was just what you did. We grew up, we had a garden in the cellar and we kept animals. And my family, I ran dairy operation. It's just like you did stuff that most kids wouldn't do now. As when I gave up council, I joined the Logie Bay Development Association. We run a community garden in conjunction with the school.
Yeah.
One of the things is we like to bring the children over to experience growing food, and I enjoy it more than anything else because the kids, we make them dig in the dirt, like it's an organic operation that we run.
Yeah.
So they'll dig up the ground, they'll find a worm, they'll either want to put it in their pocket and bring it home or scream and run away. But they understand that food doesn't come from a supermarket shelf. It comes from the earth. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of dirty work to get the food. And that's the most important part of it. Then the other part is that you explain to them, along with how stuff grows, is that there are people that aren't as lucky as what, we'll say to them, as what you were. There are people that are hungry. So every year, what they grow, they'll donate to the Northeast Avalon Food Bank. And they, you make them realise partly how lucky they are,
Yeah.
and partly what their grandparents, for the most part, had to do in order to eat. And it's a bit of an eye-opener for some of them. A lot of them really enjoy it. Some will never get it, I can guarantee you, but
Yeah.
it just, the interaction with the kids makes it all worthwhile.
And how would you say life is simpler?
Well, there was structure more so than now. Like, it was, you went to school, you knew everybody that was there. Everything revolved around school, and for the most part, our town was mostly Catholic. So there was a parish, and that's actually how the community was formed. Because originally, the people in Luggy Bay, well, like I said, they were all, most of the population were Catholic. People in Luggy Bay would go to St. John's to go to church. Middle Cove and Outer Cove would go to the church in Torbay, which at the time, like, if you didn't have a horse and cart, you had to walk. It's nice, just a nice little hike. So they got together and formed the parish with the church in Outer Cove, a centrally located church, and they became, like, that's how they became connected, was through their interactions that way. And that's how the town ended up being formed from 3 different communities. But it's just that there wasn't as many competing interests. The world wasn't, well, in our mind, such well, it was, I suppose, scary, but a complicated place.
Yeah.
Right? There wasn't as much stuff. Kids now can go on the internet, and the stuff that they can see, like, it blows my mind.
I know.
In comparison to what was available to me when I was young.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, as a new person living here in town, what's the biggest piece of advice you would give a new townie here?
A new townie?
Yeah.
Make friends with a townie.
Okay.
Find out where all the good stuff is, right? You got, like I said, that's the biggest part of it. And like, when I went to school here, the vast majority of the people in my class had moved in from other parts of the province, Labrador, and it was a big shock to them. I mean, just the size of the place, the amount of traffic, and basically, I'm going to say the anonymity, because you don't know the same people that you knew before. It's a big adjustment, but the biggest thing to do would be to immerse yourself in the place, find out what your interests are, because I mean, there's something for everyone here, right? And go for it, and you'll meet people, and that's the thing about it, is that even if you're from a smaller place, St. John's is just a big bay town, I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
Everybody, like, once you get to know people, they're all the same. They're all Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. They're all friendly.
Yeah.
It just takes a while, and it's just because of the scale of the place. But for the most part, once the people get here and they meet up with people with similar interests and similar, activities that they do, I find it works out pretty well for them. I hope it does for you too.
Thank you. Thank you so much for speaking with me today. I really appreciate it. This has been the New Townie podcast. From all of us here at the team, we hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next time when we speak with an international student who decided to stay in St. John's. Bye for now.